All right, I think we're ready to get started. All right, good morning, everybody. We're going to call to order the Business Management Committee meeting on Thursday, January 28th, and it is exactly 9:30 a.m. First up on the agenda is the approval of the April 2020 or April 23rd, 2026 Business Management Committee meeting minutes. Can I have a move and a second? And then a vote. All right, the minutes have passed. All right, next up on the agenda, we have a resolution authorizing the modification of contractual authorization for professional services for investment management, LOA L50288. And we have Mr. Stewart going to be presenting.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Chair Galisa. Good morning. Good morning, Deputy CEO Allen and other members of the board. I'm looking around for folks. My name is Roydell Stewart. I'm the Senior Director of Treasury Services. Today, I'm presenting a resolution requesting authorization to modify the existing contract for professional investment management services under contract L50288 with Payden and Regal. Okay, I'm not sure if am I doing, yeah, okay. All right, so just to provide some context, MARTA entered into a 3-year contract with Payden and Regal on May 12th, 2023 with an original value of $1,590,000. Earlier this month, the interim general manager executed the 5% contingency in the amount of $79,500, bringing the total contract value to $1,669,500. In addition, the contract term was subsequently extended to June 30th, 2026. Payden and Regal manages MARTA's reserve funds with the objective of generating above-market investment returns while adhering to the appropriate risk and liquidity requirements. The original 3-year term was designed to cover the period in which our portfolios were expected to carry excess balances. So the purpose for this modification, it's driven by a few changes. Changes in our financial position. Our investment portfolio values have increased due to stronger inflows from sales tax and interest income, as well as lower than anticipated outflows from capital program spend. So continued professional investment management is recommended to maintain liquidity for upcoming capital expenditures while maximizing returns within MARTA's investment policy. The proposed modification includes the following elements: extending the contract term for an additional 3 years, and then increasing the contract value from $1,669,500 to $3,169,500. All relevant fees are included in the current budget and are calculated as a percentage of assets under management. Fees are deducted directly from the investment accounts. Because the fee structure is not changing, an additional price analysis from internal audit is not required. So today, staff is requesting the board's approval to authorize the extension of contract L50288 with Payden and Regal for an additional 3-year term and increase the total contract authorization to $3,169,500. This modification will allow MARTA to continue effective management of its investment portfolio in support of both liquidity needs and long-term capital funding requirements. And with that, I turn it back over to you, Chair Galisa.
Great, thank you very much for that. Can I get a motion and a second? Right. And then a vote, please. Oh, we have questions, I'm sorry. Rod, you're up first.
All right, thank you. So this particular agency does consulting for us. Help me understand, what is it, they manage our portfolio, but how are they how are they compensated for just managing the portfolio? I mean, why would we be an increase if they're just managing our portfolio?
Yeah, so they take a fee based on assets under management. So they would take like 7 basis points, right? So if they, for every $100, 1% would be $1, and then 7 basis points would be 7% of that. So that would be 7 cents for every $100 that they manage.
Okay, so that means that the asset went up, and we paid them for that.
Yeah, so basically over and probably a lot, this is a standard fee structure for money management. Mm-hmm. So, you give a money manager a certain amount of money, and then regardless of how the portfolio performs, they take a fee based on the average amount that they are managing.
All right, and so if the portfolio goes down, does that mean that they're not paid for the services, or do we?
No, they still get paid for their services. They would just get paid less because the amount that they're managing is lower. So let's say they're going to get paid 10%.
Right.
If you give them $100 and it grows to $200, then they're going to get 10% of $200. If you give them $100 and it falls to $50, then they get 10% of $50. So our interests are aligned. The better the portfolio does, the more that they get paid in that sense.
So I'm hoping that the rate of return on what we're spending for the services is greater than what the services is. I imagine it is.
Yeah, so that's something that we look at. So they give us quarterly statements, just like you would get. It's very similar arrangement to what you might have with your retirement fund or any money management fund that you may have. So we get quarterly statements, and then we look at the way the portfolio performed relative to a benchmark. And if they don't outperform the benchmark, then we start looking at, whether or not, it's worth having them manage our funds. Now, fortunately, they have outperformed the benchmark. We've been grading them. It's a way of grading them, and they have earned their keep, we could say. So I have some numbers here with me, too. So for 2 of our portfolios, they've outperformed the benchmark 64% of the quarters, because we look at it on a quarterly basis, since over the last 3 years. And then another one, they outperformed 73% of the quarters. The outperformance is fairly small. We're talking about, like 10 basis points. It's 17 basis points on average, but they don't really have the opportunity to really outperform on a grand scale because all of the investments that they're required to invest in safe assets.
Okay.
Okay,
all right, thank you.
Mm-hmm. So they have to adhere to our investment policy, so.
All right. Mr. Pond.
Quick question, Rodell.
Yes.
What is the size approximately of the portfolio they're managing, and repeat again what their basis points for their fee is?
Yeah, so the portfolios that they're managing, it's about $800 million. So they're managing the MARTA Atlanta portfolio, the MARTA Clayton portfolio, and then they also manage our Unified Reserve portfolio.
And repeat again their
So
fee
the
basis?
fee, I don't know, maybe I would, share that offline, but it is competitive.
Okay.
All right. And Devon.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. Question, so we're extending this contract. What type of internal analysis do we do to determine whether just to extend it or to go to the market and see what else may be available to us?
Yeah, so we, we're aware of what standard fees are for portfolio management services. We also check or investigate whether or not we could manage it ourselves better internally, because we do have a small fund that we manage internally. We call it our general fund. So we have a checking account that we use for paying our daily, expenses, and we keep a low balance in that because you don't get much of a return from what you hold in a checking account. And so we have another fund that we manage ourselves. And so we do compare our own return to what Payden is giving us and try to decide whether or not it makes sense to, to continue to outsource it to them. And so when we do that analysis, we find that that it is worth the, the fee.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, I don't see any other questions, so we'll go to a vote. All right, great, the motion is passed, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next up on our agenda today is we have a resolution authorizing the award of a single source contract for MARTA Ridership Awareness and Media Campaign, RFPP P600282. All right, and Ms. Canada, did I say that correctly?
It's Kanita.
Kanita, darn it.
It's okay.
The floor is yours.
All right. So, good morning, Chair Galisa, Deputy General Manager Allen, and members of the board. I'm Chinette Kanita, Senior Director of Marketing and Sales. Today, I'm requesting approval of a resolution authorizing the award of a single source contract for MARTA Ridership Awareness and Media Campaign, RFPP P600282, to secure MARTA's airport advertising campaign with Clear Channel Airport, the exclusive advertising partner for Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport. So Hartsfield-Jackson remains the world's busiest airport, serving more than 100 million passengers annually. Our campaign places MARTA messaging directly in domestic arrivals, one of the airport's highest traffic passenger locations, reinforcing our key messages, including plane to the train and welcome to Atlanta, let MARTA drive. We also evaluated advertising opportunities in the international terminal. However, due to the significantly higher cost of those placements, we made the strategic decision to continue focusing our investment on domestic arrivals, where we achieve the strongest visibility and greatest overall reach. Renewing also allows MARTA to secure the premium airport presence at today's rates. We know that as Atlanta continues to attract more and more global events, competition for airport advertising inventory is expecting to increase, which makes this immediate action the most cost-effective approach. The campaign includes a domination display in domestic arrivals featuring 8 column wraps and 7 barrier wraps. These placements create a strong visual presence for MARTA immediately upon arrival and help position MARTA as the easiest and most convenient way to travel into the city. And so for many visitors, this will be their first interaction with MARTA while in Atlanta. So today we are requesting approval for a new contract for the airport advertising campaign with Clear Channel Airports for the next 24 months from July 2026 through July 2028. The goals of this campaign are to continue increasing awareness of MARTA as the preferred transit option for airport travelers and to drive ridership by promoting convenience, affordability, and access to major events and destinations. Performance metrics tracked by MARTA's research and analysis team and adjusted for Fairgate issues show that airport ridership continues to grow relative to domestic arrivals. In 6 of the past 8 months, MARTA reached its highest airport station conversion rates to date. Importantly, this investment is not based solely on generating enough new riders to offset the cost of the campaign. It is designed to maintain MARTA's visibility at a critical decision point, increase consideration among arriving travelers, and position MARTA to capture ridership growth as Atlanta hosts more major events. As part of the procurement review process, internal auditing completed an analysis of their proposed pricing and contract documentation. Based on historical pricing, internal auditing determined the amount of $429,531.44 is fair and reasonable and supported with sufficient documentation. The Office of Marketing and Sales respectfully requests approval of the resolution authorizing the award of a single source contract for MARTA Ridership Awareness and Media Campaign, RFPP P600282 in the amount of $429,531.44. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you for that presentation. Can I get a motion and a second? Which we have, and so I believe, Valencia, you've got a question.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for your presentation. This is a big contract for advertising, specifically at the airport. How are we gauging ridership? You mentioned ridership. You expected it to increase based on advertising. How are we currently analyzing that and can determine whether advertising is a direct result of increased ridership?
Well, I would just say advertising in general is never usually a direct unless it's an online action. But what I will say, we've looked at, it's a combination of things. So we look at research and analysis looks at the time frame that we've had the advertising up and the number of airport station entries compared to those domestic arrivals. And so they determined that based on the past six of the last 8 months that we saw an increase in ridership. The other thing, part of that too, is not just the airport advertising. We're marketing through email. We're also leveraging display advertising, all of these other opportunities to communicate with our travelers, with local and also folks internationally and nationally. It all kind of aligns together. So it all kind of pulls itself together.
Now, do we survey our riders at all to find out how they heard about us? And are we hearing from them that advertising is driving their preference for MARTA?
We have not done that with the airport advertising, but that is something that we're looking to do in the future.
All right, Elizabeth, you're up.
Hey, thank you. Just a question, what's the current advertising platform at the airport? Do we have anything there now, or?
This is what we have right now with the Clear Channel Airport. The domination is what we have right now.
Okay, so
Yes.
so this is a renewal, or?
It's a new contract. So we've had it in the past. We tried it out. It was more of a pilot. We tried it out for a year just to see if this is something that we want to continue to do, and we got a lot of positive feedback. And we're seeing some increase in traffic, and with the World Cup coming and some other events that are coming, we know this is a great opportunity for us to be there. So we're looking to extend it for that time frame.
And cost-wise, with the previous contract, for the time frame, is it similar, is it more?
It is, and internal auditing looked at that historical to determine whether or not it was fair and accurate.
Thanks.
All right, Shayna?
Thanks. I think it looks great right now. I was really excited last time I flew in and saw it. I don't remember the exact detail, but I know you had that picture up. I guess I'm curious, when we're thinking about behavior change, right? I would assume that when you land, you're thinking through two options, MARTA or rideshare.
That's right.
And then, of course, at the MARTA airport, it's a long distance to get to rideshare. So we all know MARTA was going to be your best option anyway, and then that further reinforces it. Is there anything that's part of this marketing that kind of speaks to how long it takes from where you are to get to key destinations, or how long it may take if you were, I mean, it's like, what, a 10-minute walk just to get your Uber, whereas it's a 15-minute ride into downtown? That's a no-brainer. So is that coming up at all?
It's I would say it's a part of a comprehensive marketing campaign. So right now, the new messaging will be skip the line, that kind of thing. Skip the line. It's faster. It's more affordable. But as I was mentioning before, excuse me, this advertising at the airport can't act in itself. So we do have to support it with other means of advertising and marketing.
All right, I do not see any other questions, so let's go to a vote. Okay, great, the motion is passed. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up on our agenda, we have a resolution authorizing the award of a contract for storage expansion and upgrade, IFB B50817, and we have Tyson Morris presenting.
Good morning, Chair Galisa, Ms. Allen, and other members of the Business Management Committee. My name is Tyson Morris, the AGM CIO of Technology, and I'm here to present a resolution authorizing the award of a contract for procurement of storage expansion and upgrade IFB B50817. Much of MARTA's current storage infrastructure has reached the end of its supported life cycle. As vendor support expires, the risk of hardware failures, security vulnerabilities, and lack of replacement parts increases. Refreshing this infrastructure ensures MARTA's systems remain supported, secure, and reliable while maintaining continuity of business operations across the authority. At the same time, MARTA continues advancing its cloud migration strategy. While this transition is underway, on-premise storage remains necessary to support systems that must continue to operate locally. Approval of this contract will help ensure operational continuity, business resilience, and reliable system performance while MARTA modernizes its overall technology environment. 3 bids were received. The lowest responsive and responsible bid was received by Data Storage Technologies, DBA, Data and Science Technologies Incorporated, in the amount of $563,674.33. This 3-year contract is funded with local capital and operating funds. In conclusion, the Department of Technology kindly requests the Business Management Committee recommend to the full board approval the resolution authorizing the award of a contract for the procurement of storage expansion and upgrade IFB B50817 to Data Storage Technologies Incorporated, DBA Data and Science Technology Incorporated, in the amount of $563,674.33.
Great.
Thank you. Now return the floor to you for any questions.
Oh, okay. Oh, only the storage ones. Okay. Which one? Oh. Oh, we did go out of sequence.
My
So-
apologies.
Because of that, why don't we do the next briefing, so that way, because right now it's showing us voting on the ArcGIS
Okay.
up here, which was the next one on the agenda. So why don't we go to that? You can do your presentation.
And then we'll do both. Okay.
Yeah, and then we'll go back and do questions on both.
Okay.
and then
Thank you.
vote. Okay.
Once again, I'm here to present a resolution authorizing a modification and contractual authorization for the renewal of ArcGIS software maintenance RFP P45386. MARTA's operations planning, public safety, asset management, and customer-facing service rely heavily on geographical information systems, also known as GIS. And it's provided by Environmental Systems Research Institute, also known as ESRI. The platform powers the mapping and geographic data used across the authority, and it serves as a foundational technology supporting critical systems such as computer-aided dispatch, license plate readers, service planning, and real-time transit data feeds. Without this renewal, MARTA would lose software access, security patches, version upgrades, and technical support, creating operational and public safety risks. This year's procurement also includes expanded licenses based on our FY27 requirements, such as additional ArcGIS Online Creator and Viewer subscriptions, ArcGIS Velocity Standard, and ArcGIS Data Interoperability for Online, all of which are included in the ESRI FY27 quotations. This procurement also includes participation in ESRI's Advantage program, which provides MARTA with enhanced strategic support services, technical advisory resources, and accelerated access to ESRI expertise. The program helps optimize MARTA's use of the ArcGIS platform, supports long-term GIS planning and modernization efforts, and improves responsiveness for complex operational and enterprise geospatial initiatives. Approval will allow us to issue the purchase order in time for all licenses to be and entitlements to be activated before the new service term begins on July 1st, 2026, ensuring continuity of GIS operations across the authority. The current contract value is at $298,029.86. Additional funds being requested are $235,106.51, bringing the total contract value to $533,136.37. An audit was conducted, and the price is found to be fair and reasonable, and costs will be covered with local operating funds. In conclusion, the Department of Technology kindly requests the Business Management Committee recommend to the full board approval of the resolution authorizing a modification and contractual authorization for the renewal of ArcGIS software maintenance, RFPP P45386, in the amount of $235,106.51, raising the total contract amount to $533,136.37. Thank you. Now return the floor to you for any questions.
All right, thank you. So we already had a move and a second on this one. Everybody okay keeping those applicable to the next one? All right, great. And so now we'll open it up for questions, and we have Elizabeth.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. Just, what is the time frame for the contract extension with this increased amount?
Which one?
I'm sorry, for this previous presentation for the ArcGIS.
For the ArcGIS. We're doing this kind of in a phased approach. This will be a one-year renewal. And one reason why we're bringing in the technology, the Advantage program, is to really continue to correct our systems, improve the data, help us build more operational data layers, and then we're going to be looking for a much more long-term, more suited contract for the authority.
Thank you.
All right, so now we're going to go to a vote on the ArcGIS software resolution. All right, that motion is passed. So now let's jump back to the storage expansion and upgrade, which is IFB B50817. I believe I already have a motion and a second on this one. Are there any questions on the previous presentation for the storage? Okay, great. I do not see any questions, so let's go to a vote. Great, and that motion is passed.
Thank you. Appreciate your flexibility there,
Oh,
too.
yeah. We are always flexible. All right, great. And next up, we have a resolution authorizing a non-exclusive revocable license agreement with Crown Castle in the amount of $428,098 for continued operation of a cell tower located at 500 Plasters Bridge Road, Northeast, Fulton County, Georgia. MARTA parcel D3113. And Mr. Lopes, turn it to you.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Galitza, Deputy GM Allen. I got that right, and members of the board. I am here, as you've mentioned, for a resolution authorizing a non-exclusive revocable license agreement with Crown Castle in the amount of $428,098 for continued operation of a cell tower located at 500 Plasters Bridge Road, Northeast, in Fulton County, Atlanta. It is MARTA parcel D3113. Just give you an idea of where it is. It's just south of our Armor Yard facility, and it's the little area in red, and there's a street view of the tower itself, so to give you context of what we're referring to. The transaction details, so the purpose of this is to allow what was previously a Bell South Mobility LLC tower since 2001 under a prior lease agreement with MARTA, now transferring over to Crown Castle as current owner of the tower, and the wish to continue operation after the lease expires. The location again is at 500 Plaster Bridge Road, Northeast Atlanta, Fulton County, Georgia, adjacent to our armor yard. The MARTA parcels are acquisition parcel N131 and N133 and parcel D3113, all having a tax ID of 17-005700217-8. The area is 2,700 square feet. It contains a 140-foot monopole with an active antenna equipment at the 128-foot above ground level center line. The negotiated estimated value of this license is $428,098. 43,350 square feet was acquired from Carolina Lumber and Supply Company in July 2001 for $1,142,294.66. There is no federal interest in this parcel. And again, the details are MARTA parcel D3113. The structure is a license agreement. We did run an appraisal. There is a fair market valuation of $428,098. The term is 5-year, non-exclusive, and revocable. And the acquisition history are parcels N131, N133, I think we mentioned earlier, from July 2001. Again, no FTA interest. So with that, we request approval of the board resolution authorizing a non-exclusive irrevocable license with Crown Castle in the amount of $428,098 for continued operation of a cell tower located at 500 Plasters Bridge Road, Northeast Fulton County in Atlanta for MARTA parcel D3113. Thank you, Chair Galitza. I turn the floor back over to you.
Great, thank you very much for that. I think we have a move and a second. So then I will open it up for any questions. Do not see any questions, so let's go to a vote. All right, the motion is passed. Thank you. All right, next up we have a briefing for the FY 2026 third quarter financial highlights and financial KPIs. Greg Patterson, floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Galitza, Ms. Allen, and members of the Business Management Committee. I am Greg Patterson, Deputy CFO, and it's my pleasure to present MARTA's financial highlights for the third quarter ending March 31st, 2026. Can we advance the slide to the presentation? There we go. All right, we'll start with a review of the operating budget highlights for the quarter. Next slide, please. All right, so at a summary level, MARTA budgeted operating sources of $479.3 million. That includes the net revenue and the operating carry forward. Our actual revenue was $484.8 million, which was $14.4 million favorable year to date. Our net expenses were budgeted at $479.3 million, but actual expenditures were $534.6 million, ending the quarter at $55.3 million unfavorable to budget. The net impact was an unfavorable variance of $41 million year to date. Next slide, please. All right, presenting this at a detailed level, I'll start with the revenues. As a reminder, back in September, MARTA received a negative adjustment of $7.9 million in sales tax revenue from the Georgia Department of Revenue due to amended returns from prior tax records or prior tax periods. But since then, sales tax actuals are $4.9 million favorable to budget, so we're in a really great position on the sales tax side of things. On our passenger revenues, we ended the quarter favorable by $2.6 million, including stored value true-up transactions to address the ongoing missed trip concern with our legacy Fairgate equipment. So those transactions have since been all cleaned up. So, we are now seeing the predicted dip in ridership revenue, which you'll see on the monthly side. This is the result of the Fairgate replacement that we're in the middle of. Other revenues right now are favorable by $5 million due to a combination of higher than forecasted investment income and a receipt of the alternative fuel tax credit in February. And then with respect to year-to-date expenses, salaries and wages were unfavorable by $7.4 million due to a combination of a one-time adjustment for a previous separation agreement and insufficient savings created by our hiring freeze year-to-date. overtime was unfavorable to budget by $10 million, and that's driven primarily by special events as well as absenteeism. That's just very high. It's in the three predictable areas, which it's been in our actual operations services, so bus and rail. It's been in police. It's been in mechanical services. So those are the main three areas that we're seeing it. Total benefits were favorable to budget by $2.5 million, primarily due to a pension adjustment and then lower than forecasted healthcare expenses. Total materials and supplies ended unfavorable to budget by $1.1 million, driven by higher than forecasted costs for repairs and rebuilds on bus specifically. And then other non-labor was unfavorable by $9.6 million, which was driven primarily by third-party liability expenses. And then finally, capital cost allocation was favorable by $30.3 million due to lower than forecasted capital project delivery, resulting in fewer operating expenses allocated to capital projects. And I'll take a moment to point out, if you look at the percentage that we're off there, it's about 54.1%. Keep that in mind, because when I get to the capital part of the presentation, you'll see there's a very commiserate area where we're behind schedule by roughly the same amount across the entire program. And that's where I wanted to point out that there's a connection between the two. Okay, next slide, please. All right, moving on to the current month operations performance from the month of March. Revenues were favorable by $3 million and expenses were unfavorable by $12.9 million. The net impact of that was a $9.9 million deficit. Next slide, please. All right, breaking this down on the revenue side, sales tax receipts continue to be strong in March, resulting in a $2.9 million favorable position to budget. Then on the passenger revenue, you can now see the downward trend there where it saw actuals being unfavorable to budget by $1 million. On the expenses side, salaries and wages were unfavorable by $1.8 million due to lower than forecasted vacancy savings and a very aggressive push to fill all of our frontline vacancies. Now, I will note the big push for the frontline vacancy filling is that's our goal, to try and reduce overtime. If you can do it with straight time, it's better. So that's what we're doing on that area. Overtime itself was still unfavorable to budget by $1.9 million, specific to special events, vacancies, absenteeism, and our capital project support. Total benefits were unfavorable to budget by $2.7 million, primarily due to higher than forecasted workers' compensation expenses during the month. Other non-labor ended the month unfavorable by $2.4 million, and that is primarily due to the higher than forecasted third-party liability expenses. And finally, capital charges were unfavorable to budget by $3.7 million, same reason you saw on the year-to-date. Next slide, please. All right, taking a look at our key performance indicators for ridership right now. Our passenger revenues through the fiscal year, we see a negative trend in revenue accounting for the replacement of the fare gates and the ticket vending machines. You can see that starting to hit there in March. March passenger revenues of $4.5 million fell short of the forecast by $1 million, and prior March by $1.7 million. Next slide, please. On our bus ridership figures, we starting to see an upward trend now. March performance of 100,000 unlinked. March performance has 100,000 unlinked trips more than this time last year, but we're still 500,000 trips below the forecast. We expect some increases tied to the perception that the system was free as the fare gates were open, so we saw a lot more folks jumping on, but we'll see if this trend bears out with the new Better Breeze in place. Then on the next slide, please, with rail ridership, you can see that the ridership exceeds both the forecast and the prior year performance. March ridership of 4 million unlinked trips exceeds the forecast by 1.8 million unlinked trips, and the prior March by 1.4 million trips. As a reminder, we also changed how we're measuring this from counting the taps that were happening on the legacy faregate equipment to a physical count of a scientifically valid sample of people boarding the trains. So it's going to automatically increase that. We also expect that there's a lot of additional ridership likely due to the open fare gates. So that's going to lead to the higher count. Next slide, please. All right, moving on to the capital slides. Sales tax proceeds continue to be favorable. Obviously, I split the incoming sales tax between operations and capital, so you see the benefit here as well. Year-to-date performance being $3.7 million favorable to budget. Federal and state grant revenues are substantially below targets at $55.7 million, below the forecast. That is largely driven by project delays on bus procurement and Better Breeze. Some of the federal money associated with those projects, you have to bill first, or you have to incur the expense first, then bill for the reimbursement. It's the federal monies are still there for reimbursement. We just have to incur the billing. And then, let's see here, lower than forecasted capital funds utilization resulted in some less than forecasted debt service as well. That's been compensated somewhat for less than expected grant revenue year to date. On the expenditure side, we continue to fall below forecasts. Actuals recorded of $166.3 million to a baseline of $420.7 million year to date. It's worth noting that these figures do not include accrued work. They're functioning kind of on a cash basis. We accrue in the month of June. So that's where you'll see the work that's been earned but not recorded yet show up. Next slide, please. Okay, so on our top 10 projects by expenditures, the top 3 projects by expenditures year to date on our state of good repair, they're the same ones that were on the Q2 report. So these are Better Breeze at $33.2 million. Rail station rehab at $22.5 million, and the CQ 400 new rail car procurement at $21.5 million. Right now, rail station rehab, our expected revised estimate by the end of the year right now is going to be at around 82% once we accrue for the work that we're seeing in progress. That's our estimate at the end of the year. 5 points specifically on the station rehab side, we have a revised estimate of $12.5 million, which will be around 78% of the planned work. The platform rehabilitation effort was prioritized for World Cup, and some exploratory work for additional escalators was deferred into next fiscal year. On the Better Breeze work, AFC 2.0, we have a revised estimate at the end of the year of 80%. Approximately 25% of the scheduled Fairgate deployments have been delayed due to production issues and have been deferred into fiscal year 27. And then, of course, the construction moratorium impacts our ability to deploy any additional work during fiscal year 26. I can go through a couple of the other projects. Escalator rehab, I'll just make a note on that one as well. We have about 34.7% paid through the month of March. Our revised estimate at the end of the fiscal year will be at around 88% based on the work that we expect to be accomplished by the end of the fiscal year. Specific to SEC District, the work, we have 4 escalators, number 5 through 8. That was deferred to post-World Cup to mitigate the high schedule risk in that area. Next slide, please. Okay, on the More MARTA City of Atlanta Capital Program, sales taxes are favorable by $1.1 million. Federal and state grant revenues are below targets, largely driven from project delays on 5 Points transformation. That's due in large part to the water main break that we saw on Alabama Street. Next slide, please. All right, top projects by expenditures are the 5 Points transformation at $18.8 million. That represents a $10 million increase from quarter 2. And MARTA Rapid A-Line at $18.2 million, which is also nearly a $10 million increase from quarter 2. Specific to the projects right now, the revised estimate by the end of 26 should be around 78% on 5 Points transformation. We're then on the Rapid A-Line, we've had some contractor billing lags that are going to go through, but that billing will show up in the accrual at the end of the year. All right, next slide, please. All right, moving on to Clayton County. Sales taxes are favorable by $500,000, and the rest of our sources are tracking according to plan so far. Actuals are only recorded at $2 million from a baseline budget of $26.5 million. Next slide, please. So walking you through some of the project impacts that we have seen on Clayton. Catch up with that. So on Rapid South Lake, we've had 1.9% paid through the end of March right now. Our revised estimate at the end of the fiscal year is we'll get through about 31% of the planned expenditures. Final design services on this project commenced later than expected as the project underwent a peer review in June of 2026. Design is scheduled for completion in fiscal year 27. On the Clayton County O&M multipurpose facility, the project design progression was delayed as Georgia Power confirmed that projected electrical demand will exceed the available service threshold and will require a dedicated on-site substation to support the facility. So that unanticipated utility requirements had a significant impact on site planning, utility coordination, design assumption, schedule, and final cost. So we're going through the reevaluation of that. So as a result, 26 expenditures have been very limited for targeted design, coordination, and support activities rather than the larger planned final design activities that were originally anticipated. And then on the Clayton County Justice Center Transit Hub, we have seen 2.8% paid through March. The variance is primarily due to a value engineering effort that downsized the square footage of the building. The architectural consultants are working to complete final 100% set of documents for submission and permitting. Next slide, please. That concludes my briefing. I'll return the floor to you.
Great. Thank you very much for the briefing. Do I have any questions for, let's see, Shayna, you're up first.
Thanks. Okay, I don't want this to be a shoot the messenger situation.
No.
I can take it.
But I know, so you alluded to deferring some of the capital investment on the Better Breeze till next year. And then I know that we did budget for some loss in revenue. And I also recognize that you're reporting on year to date through the end of March. Can you paint a picture of kind of where we are today on those collections, how it's looking to relative to what we budgeted for? You know what I'm asking.
Certainly. So let's just talk about what we anticipated the loss to be for the fiscal year.
Okay.
So at the whole fiscal year, July 1 to June 30th, we anticipated approximately a $14.2 million hit to our revenue total for the year on farebox revenue. We've had a couple of months where after we reconciled for the stored value, where customers had purchased and used the fare, but because we didn't recognize the tap, we were not recognizing the revenue as well. It basically represented cash coming in, sitting in the bank for MARTA, but it doesn't get recognized as revenue. So we saw those transactions that showed positive for a couple of those months. You saw, hey, in fact, the year to date, we were positive by a couple million on farebox revenue. We're now seeing the downward trend. The downward trend is going to be significant until all the fare gates are up and everything is closed. Where we're going to end, I don't know yet, and I'll tell you my main reason for the big question mark. We're expecting to get a surge of farebox revenue from World Cup activities. How big of a surge is really hard to predict. We do know that the majority of the stations that will see the World Cup activity will be under closed fare gates and new TVM. So we're expecting the vast majority of the inflow of traffic should be captured correctly and should be captured as revenue. I have no idea how much of that's going to fix for the loss that we saw in the intervening time. So at this point, my best estimate is still sticking around the $14.2 million loss. We should come in close to what we budgeted year to date by the end of the year, unless there's a strong variable in the attendance and use of MARTA during the World Cup activities. I don't know if that answered your question, but that's my forecast right now.
It definitely helps. It definitely helps.
Those are the variables I'm looking at right now.
So are we anticipating now that it will be next year before all the fare gates are closed?
I can respond.
Okay, I'm
Shayna.
sorry.
Yeah. So as we said last, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago, we'd have 80% of the
Yeah.
entrances closed. So that is where we're going to be, right? And you can think of an entrance there. You can think of medical center. There are 2 gates, I believe, or 2 to 3 or 4 of those gates. So it does not represent a large number of places, even though we say it's 20%. You have to look at those in kind of raw numbers. So I do not expect that there's going to be a wide range of places. And I'll give you another example is the Kensington Intermodal, where folks are transferring from a bus, hopefully where they paid on the bus, and just transferring to rail. And so those gates at the Kensington Intermodal will also be the older ones as we hit our moratorium on construction.
Yep.
And then in July, August, when we're back to being able to go to work, those will be placed into service. I also state that when you look at some of the numbers here, we have not paid that vendor through, I think the last time we paid was through February, right? And that's just on billings. And so we'll see a lot of that work that has been done since February, March, April, May, come in the next few months. So on that side of the spend side, we're going to see a shift. And on the side of the revenue collection, I would also expect that we're going to see more as there's fewer people that are, or more people are adopting to the new side. We switched over from the old system to the new system on May 2nd, and I would expect that we'll be seeing more. And we do have numbers that we can, go back and look at, but more folks actually paying and receiving the revenue from both bus and from rail as we close down the system.
Okay, so we're still, understanding the construction moratorium, we still expect that we are on track for what you told us 2 weeks
Yes,
ago? Okay,
yes.
So nothing else has changed in that?
That is correct.
Construction timeline? Okay.
Yes,
You're talking about next year,
You mean next fiscal year?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
right,
Yes.
right.
Next fiscal
We have-
year.
Yes.
Post July 1.
We kind of set for ourselves a construction moratorium during the World Cup, just so that we could focus and the other folks have, parts of our IT as well as the capital program group could really help us to focus on ensuring that we have a great customer experience. And so we also don't want, as for security purposes, our police having to kind of determine who's a construction person that should be working and, dealing with the fare gate versus, who should not. And so we've set that limit on ourselves. So we'll be working up through June 10th, and then we will pause. There's some things that we could do on the back end that our vendor is going to be doing on the back end, but they will not be in our stations between June 10 and I believe it is July 19 that we set that moratorium.
Okay, thank you.
And just one other note I'll add to that. As long as you've tapped somewhere, we'll still collect the revenue. So even if we have some open fare gates, if you go through an open one and go through a closed one, we'll capture that revenue. It's only those more rare instances where someone goes through an open and leaves through an open that we won't capture any revenue likely for that trip.
I maybe have just had bad luck, or good luck, I don't know, that I have not tapped a few times this week even in the system. Okay.
All right. Thank you for those questions. Rod?
Yeah, Greg, I got a couple questions. I want to go to the expense, the third quarter expense comments that you have here. And I know you're just reporting the data, and it's not trending in a good direction. That's clear. One of the things that I think we talked about before was the overtime unfavorability to the budget due to absenteeism and special events. And I think we had talked about this before. I didn't know, when we have special events, it might be more for Rhonda's question, do we try to find a way, I'm sure we try to find a way to offset those costs when we have these special events. Is that something that we are being very effective at it, or are we just being good stewards to do this
I'll
stuff?
say there are two points to that. Some of that is already budgeted, right? So we know when we need additional support out for special events, and so some of that overtime is budgeted. But there is also, we have also discussed how we might be able to get more support financially from some of our partners that maybe ask for additional service hours, right? Or if it costs us additional service hours. We've not pulled together a full plan on that, but we are looking at both. How do we look at it internally and make sure that we've got the right size, the amount of people out for these events, as well as if there's any support that others outside could that we might charge for additional services.
Yeah, and what comes to mind is when we have the power outages that were not in our control, from what I understand, and we've had to do bus bridges for that. I mean, how do we recoup the cost of spending the money to deliver the service?
Well, that wouldn't, I don't think that, we don't put that one in our special event category.
Okay.
However, we kind of look at that as a disruption that, we don't necessarily go and, let's say, point the finger at our partners in power. So
Right.
we have not gotten to a point where we're able to say, oh, Georgia Power, or, you owe us X amount of dollars for this service disruption. We just try to ensure that we're working as quickly as possible to limit the amount of time that we're having to have that bus service out interruption. I will also say that for the most part, those interruptions are not something that's substantial that requires hours and hours of service, and so we just really want to make sure that we're actually having reliable service and working with them to ensure that those interruptions are few and far between.
Sure. And I do understand we're in partnership with our agencies. It's just that we got to find a way to deal with this trend that I'm looking at. And then in here also talks about absenteeism, you know, and I know that we had a freeze that we were supposed to try to recapture some of the cost of that. It's my understanding that didn't go as well as we had planned. Is that right?
Yes, we have not captured as much of the savings as we would have liked through that freeze. Sorry.
Okay,
But-
yes. So I just think that we got to find a way to deal with these trends. I'm sure it's on the front burner, but it's in the third quarter and it's going to continue unless we can get in front of it, right?
Yes, sir. And so we are still continuing that a review of each one of the positions. So before anyone's able to hire, they come before a board internally, and we review the needs and make those adjustments. There are positions, however, like we said, frontline positions that we just know that we need, and so we continue to ensure that we're meeting budget there. Greg, anything
There's
to
one
add?
other note I was going to add, well, two actually. One would be the hiring freeze did not apply largely to the areas where we were recording the overtime. So we kept those as staffed as possible, and those folks, did put in some overtime. So that's like, the operators, the mechanics, the police. The freeze did not apply to those roles. I just wanted to make that one note. The second note I wanted to make is that you will likely see total labor isn't as bad at year end. The reason being is we always set aside, or we had set aside about a $4.2 million general manager's labor contingency. But when we loaded it in the budget, we loaded it all in the month of June. So effectively, it doesn't show up as offsetting the places it was allocated out till you get to the month of June. It looks like it's overrunning till you get there. So that will offset some of the overages that you see in labor. It's not going to offset all of them, but it does help a little bit, because that addresses some of the, hey, we had a change in plans. We're going to use some of the general manager's contingency to address that change of plans. It's just budgetarily it didn't show up till the month of June.
And I'll add, as we, start to look at this, and maybe we will look at how much we budget for special events, because as you can see, we get more and more, our city's starting to be favored when it comes to special events. And so, in some cases, it is the cost of doing business, and we just have to budget more for those types of events and support services.
I do understand. And then my final question has to do with the materials and supplies. Unfavorable to budget. Is the fuel expenses that go along with operating the transit system a part of that?
They're also in the materials and supplies. That's correct. It's a little bit of, but the fuel hasn't been as a whole terrible, because we are more heavily leveraged into compressed natural gas as a way of delivering it. That one hasn't been as bad. Diesel has been terrible lately, as I think everybody knows. But the primary driver was still some of the parts and equipment, which some of those parts and equipment are also affected by the supply chain issues. But all of the above apply in the materials and supplies.
I mean, continue as we begin to deal with not only the fuel, but the petroleum cost of plastic and everything else that goes into this. And as we look down the road, that's not going to get any better. And so we just got to find a way to deal with some other revenues in order to offset those costs, because this trend is of concern to me. All right.
And to give you some comfort, in the 27 budget, I assumed 3 million miles more than is in our plan, specifically as a buffer for the expected geopolitical impacts to fuel costs.
Okay.
So
That's
we were
good.
looking at that and going, okay, we probably need to build a bit more of a cushion here, knowing that that's coming.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it just affects everything, tires, everything that's impacted. All right. Okay. Thank you, Greg. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Rhonda. Thank you.
All right, Devon.
Thank you for your report. Going back to the expenses surrounding special events, would I be safe to assume that we have an uptick in revenue because of the ridership during that period of time?
We typically do. The thing I always remind everybody is that at now, based on what we charge for ridership, it pays approximately between 10 and 12% of our operating costs.
Okay.
So we do have an uptick in ridership, absolutely, from these special events, but the costs to operate during those special events tend to outweigh the uptick in revenue.
Yeah, that was what I was trying to get to. I was trying to see if there was any offsetting. So I guess as we address the issue of what to do with this expense during the special events, we need to look at it, except at least we're looking at it. That's what I was wanting to be certain. And I have a second question, Deputy General. You mentioned the capital charges that have not been billed yet. If I'm looking at this third quarter report, I see where we have these capital charges that are, the actual is less than the budget. Is that what you're referring to?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So it's just kind of a slow billing process in to pay out. So we're reviewing their monthly invoices, and as they submit them once per month, we then will pay them out.
So truly the work has been done, we just haven't been billed for it at this point. Okay,
Yes.
great.
And then just doubling back to the major events or the special events, there will be a presentation to the board to kind of adjust the way we handle those expenses.
Yeah, because the thing about it, it's such a negative on the balance sheet, but we do not recognize the uptick in revenue. So I think at some point we need to try to reconcile that a little bit. Yeah.
It is under evaluation.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Valencia.
Well, and I was just gonna piggyback on that. I don't know if under the evaluation would mean that you'll also be exploring maybe charging like surcharges during special events. That may be unpopular, but I mean, think about it. Like if I'm taking Uber or Lyft and there are lots of people taking it at the same time after a concert or a sporting event, then I'm gonna pay a little bit more because obviously more people are using the system. So I don't know if that's being explored. It may be unfavorable, but again, it would, I think, maybe solve or resolve some of the expense issues that we have during that time.
This particular proposal is specific to venues. However, we are undergoing a fare structure review, and your suggestion would be one that would be incorporated or reviewed as part of the fare structure review, along with an equity analysis. So that we'll get back to you with that as we finish that study. You're welcome.
Okay, I did not see any other questions. Thank you for the comprehensive update. Very
Thank
much
you.
appreciated. All right. So let's see, next up, we actually are going to get an update. We're going to be going into executive session. We have some cyber security updates from the team, so we're going to go into executive session for that. So can I get a move to go and, great, and a second, and then all in favor? All right, great. We'll officially be moving into executive session.
Well, what's left of the morning. All right, welcome to the Planning and Capital Programs Committee meeting on Thursday, May 28th. I want to call the meeting to order, and I'll start with the approval of the March 26, 2026 Planning and Capital Programs Committee meeting minutes. Can get a motion in a second here. All right, it's been moved and properly seconded. Any edits, questions, or changes to the minutes? Seeing none, please vote. All right, minutes are approved. All right, first up on the agenda, or next up on the agenda, is a resolution authorizing the award for infrastructure, architectural, and engineering consultant services. AE 50575. Mr. Prescott, welcome to the lectern.
Good morning still. Chairs Williamson, Hudson, DGM Allen, committee members. This is a resolution authorizing the award of a contract of infrastructure, architectural, and engineering consultant services, AE 50575. So this is an on-call program that has been going on for the past 8 to 10 years. It consists of consultants that are pre-qualified to provide support services for the capital programs. We require subject matter experts to supplement our current program and our in-house staffing. These consultants bring national and international experience to help keep the authority up to date within the transit industry and supplement us on specialized technical needs that our in-house staff don't have on an on-call basis. This procurement will replace the current on-call program that expires later this year. And the A&E scope is shown here. Standard discipline support throughout all the capital program, engineering, architectural work, and construction support services. So looking at the history, back in 24, this board approved the resolution to solicit. In October 25, we received 7 architectural engineering firm proposals. The Source Evaluation Committee reviewed those, scored them, and shortlisted to 5 firms, which had oral presentations in December of last year. In January, the SEC recommended 3 successful proponents as most qualified. Since then, we've been in contract negotiations, and the consultants have gone through an audit and passed. So now we're here. But the SEC recommendation for the 3 proposed consultants is H&TB, Pond, and WSP. The 3 primes are shown here with their myriad of sub-consultant partners. The bold and italic emphasis is for the small business partners underneath each one of those. This is a 5-year program with a total contract award of $30 million, and the procurement will be funded through the annual fiscal capital budgets. With that, I'd like to request resolution authorization award of the contract of infrastructure, architecture, and engineering consultant services AE 50575 with H&TB Corporation, Pond and Company, WSP USA Inc. with a contract award of $30 million. Thank you.
All right, looks like we've got a motion and a second. Any questions for Mr. Prescott?
I got one.
Sorry, didn't see you.
Sorry.
Sorry. Go ahead, Ms. Gleason.
Just, this is a on-call, so 30 million is kind of a not to exceed.
Correct.
Correct, okay, great.
All right, any other questions? None? Please vote. All right, resolution passes. Next item on the agenda is a resolution authorizing the award of a contract for direct fixation rail fastener replacement, IFB B50629A. Mr. Prescott.
Thank you. This is a technical resolution authorizing the award of contract for direct fixation rail fastener replacement, IFB 50629A. So the track renovation program has been ongoing since the authority started. It's a state of good repair focusing on the track areas. The we're currently in the wave 5 of the program. So we rotate it every so often and focus on the track renovation. So TR4 is our acronym associated around that. Direct fixation rail fasteners, the upper right-hand picture is an example of those. It's the little clips that hold the rail down to the substructure or railroad ties. This is a standalone project within TR4 because of the quantities associated with this program. If you look at the clip there, there's 2 of them on one side rail. Then we have 2 per rail, and then 2 tracks per trackway, and then 49 miles. So those quantities add up a lot. We're replacing a lot of legacy fasteners out there with over 21,000 new fasteners. That work includes removing the bolts, drilling new holes, installing new bolts, and grouting those. The majority of this work is in all the trackway areas in wayside access. So this work has to be done at night, after hours, or single tracking on the weekends. So the IFB process was started last year. We received 1 non-responsive bid. So we did an IFB again, and in November of last year, we went back to the scope and contract and cleared up a lot of clarifications. And we did receive a responsive bid in February and responsible. That has gone through the audit process and is passed, and therefore the recommendation is award of the contract to Delta GW Peoples joint venture for the amount of $29,652,161. The contingency there is a little higher than the normal GM contingency because of the work that's associated in wayside. It's done at night, a long-term schedule, and in competition with other track allocation projects like CQ 400 railcar vehicles that take priority sometimes. So with that, I'd like to request board approval of the contract award for direct fixation rail fastener replacement, IFB 50629A, to Delta GW Peoples joint venture in the amount of $29,652,161.
All right. Any questions? Mr. Frierson.
Yeah, thank you, Larry. Is this for all the rail tracks leading into the rail yards as well as what's out
Yes, sir, everywhere.
everywhere through the whole system?
The State of Good Repair program always does inspections. The track walkers walk the entire alignment throughout the entire system, and they prioritize the areas of need that need to be replaced.
Okay, and how long do you think this whole process will take? Is this a 3-year process?
This is a 3-year process.
3 years. So they'll get everything done in 3 years, and then we'll start another 3 year. Probably. Okay.
We'll see.
All right. Thanks, Larry. Appreciate it.
That's why we built in the contingency, just in case time gets extended or there's more work needs to be done.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other questions? Please vote. Resolution passes. Our next agenda item is a resolution authorizing the ratification of a memorandum of understanding for the planning study for a top-end 285 BRT design project. Mr. Prescott.
Thank you again. This is more of a bigger picture planning program preliminary design, a resolution authorizing the ratification of the Memorandum of Understanding MOU for the planning study for the top-end I-285 BRT design project. As a reminder, we have been supporting GDOT with their I-285 top-end express lanes project. This one is very similar to the Georgia 400 express lanes with BRT integrated into it, and this program is following on the success of that program and duplicating it down on I-285. So we are integrating our BRT opportunities into what they are developing their P3 vendor. We are doing have done a planning study to help support that, and we're moving on to the next phase. Looking at where we started, GDOT is with phase 1 and of the top end. That's the gold arch you see there. It's only westbound in the phase 1, going from Henderson Road over near Northwake all the way around to Northside Drive on the west side. Our studies have shown on the left side, you can see the key areas of stations that we're going to need in the entire alignment. And on the right are the alternatives analysis we did on demand studies that we did. we can't do just that one quadrant and call it good. We have to do a study for the entire alignment throughout. And you can see the multiple routes that we have to serve it to hit the key areas of demand. And then we'll segment out for GDOT as they move along through their program. Their phase 2 will be the eastbound side following up after phase 1. Looking at the history, the Atlanta Regional Transit Link Authority, ATL, or now known as GTEA, did this MOU to allow us to work with Cobb County, Gwinnett County, GDOT, and ARC outside of our jurisdictions because it is a regional, multi-jurisdictional contract. This contract was originally budgeted at $16.2 million, and MARTA's portion of obligation was a maximum of the $14.284307 million. This MOU allows us to work across the board and work through the ATL contractually to keep us within our jurisdictional bounds. The contract was done back in 23. It had 2-year base, 2 one-year options. And then when that contract happened, the board, MARTA board, approved the planning study back in 23 with an award to CDM Smith, the contractor to do the planning study, for $6.7 million. So looking at the schedule, where we are in next steps, with approval of the MOU, we'll be able to utilize the full amount of the $14.2 million. This continued work will get us the support of the GDOT schedule here. We're a little left of center. GDOT has already put out their request for proposals for the P3 vendor and are in contract negotiations, and hopefully at the end of this year. Similar to Georgia 400, we need to be at the table to reduce the risk for that P3 vendor that allows us to get BRT transit components within that. So with the MOU, the upcoming activities will be that continued support, doing preliminary design and stakeholder outreach. An example here on the right is a GDOT exit ramp. And the red dedicated lane is on the right there, as well as transit signal prioritization. Doing this now in coordination with them will be much cheaper, much easier than to come back and try to retrofit this in the future. So part of this work will also include doing the continued financial services, where our stations are outside of the GDOT right-of-way, as well as conducting a funding analysis and looking at the future for the ability to actually get funding for the entire program overall. With that, I'd like to request approval of a resolution authorizing the ratification of a Memorandum of Understanding MOU for the planning study for the top-end I-285 BRT design project. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Press. Got any questions? Seeing none, please vote. We've got everybody. The resolution passes. And lastly, a resolution authorizing a modification and contractual authorization for I-285 top-end BRT planning study RFP P50012. Mr. Prescott.
Thank you. This makes us a lot easier that you approved the MOU previously. So moving on with the request for resolution authorizing the contract modification that's already in place for the I-285 top-end BRT planning study preliminary design RFP 50001. Again, here is the GDOT program. The phase 1 is a much more detailed graphic on the right here. The Henderson Road is on the right. It comes around and has off-ramps to express lane areas that we are piggybacking off of, so to speak, connects to Georgia 400 and runs over to north side on the west side. So again, westbound only on the top end. And again, the ATL MOU allowed us to do this multi-jurisdictional program to keep us all collaborative and successful for the new future BRT within the express lanes. As I've already discussed, the scope associated with this is preliminary design to get the integration of the programs, to do the additional analysis and service planning, stakeholder outreach, public outreach, extending what we've already done with our surveys and pop-up community and stakeholder meetings. And again, as well as the capital cost to program the future funding for this project. With that, I'd like to get approval for the maximum amount contract of we've already done the 14 million. I need we've already spent the 6.7, so to continue forward with the preliminary design, we need the $7,574,314 to continue the services for CDM Smith preliminary design.
Thank you, Mr. Prescott. Any questions? Ms. Pollock?
Larry, I just want to make sure I understand.
Yes.
And make you say it like 5 times fast. Okay. We had planned to spend up to $14 million of a full total of $16 million
Yes.
on a contract. We have already spent
6.7.
6.7.
Yes.
You are now asking for the last 7.5.
Yes, ma'am.
That is in alignment with the MOU we just
Yes, ma'am.
authorized. What part of the scope was completed for 6.7 versus what part of the scope are we completing with the 7.5?
The 6.7 original was the planning study. That was
Okay.
just completed this spring.
Got it.
So that's a full planning study, the development of the entire alignment.
Got it. Okay.
So that's considered a study, 15% if you want to play
Got
that
it.
game.
That-
So we're going to 30%.
We're going to- so the last 15, going
Yes.
to 30% for just that one westbound alignment.
We have to do the entire alignment to be able to do. We can't just do one component of it. We have to do the entire alignment because it is a connected system.
Got it. So to get the full alignment to 30%
Yes.
is the final
Yes, ma'am.
7 million.
Now, we will provide costing plans specific to that segment now within that so that they can move on.
Okay, each segment will have individual costing plans.
Yes.
Okay. And our partners, they threw in the 2 million at some point.
Yes.
Okay. And you said it, but I'm just verifying, there will also be funding recommendations as part of this.
For the actual build out, yes,
Yes, for the
that's
build-out.
this. Yes, this 30% design will give us the programming alternatives and allow us to go to the federal funding
Right.
reserve, so to speak, to actually build this out in the future. Because we will not be able to operate this BRT until all segments are done. We can't operate a BRT in that top segment, phase 1 or phase 2. We need phase 3 on the east side and phase 4 on the west side to be complete so we can operate a full system. As you saw the purple, these graphics, the purple, if we do the phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3, which is the east side to 400, we could start BRT earlier, but we're following GDOT's schedule with this.
Sure. Okay,
So we got time to develop the funding needs.
okay, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Frierson?
Yeah, Larry, so I just want to make sure that we're clear and the public is clear. We're talking about, this alignment is from H.E. Homes all the way over to Indian Creek.
Yes.
Okay, so that's a complete alignment that we're talking about.
Yes.
Make sure. And I do understand that this study also will determine where some of these off-ramps will lie and just,
Yes.
I know GDOT is driving this, they're building it.
Yes.
And I don't know if the public's aware that they're talking about building on top of each other. I mean, this is not just one level, this may be 3 levels.
Yes.
And so, but we're talking about making sure that we understand that our jurisdictions realize that in these spaces that they're gonna come off of, that they have some input about how, they need to have input, because
Yes. Yes.
the BRT is gonna come off these off-ramps in their jurisdictions, and they need to be able to know that that's coming, all right?
Yes. We've had over 1,100 survey responses, and like I said, 15 community pop-ups in the various areas to kind of get their input and where those stations and those ridership routes would be put.
Okay, all right.
Mr. Pond?
Larry, it may be helpful, but MARTA is the project manager for this project. Other jurisdictions are participating in the funding, correct?
Correct. CDM Smith reports directly through us, but is paid through ATL via our contribution.
Right.
Okay, Mr. Frierson, did I cut you off? Did you have another? Okay. Okay. Seeing no other questions, please vote. Right, resolution passes. Are there any other matters to bring before the committee? Right. Thank you all. We are adjourned. And thank you, Mr. Prescott. You had to carry the load today. Thank you.
I'm gonna call the Operations and Safety Committee meeting to order. And the first thing on our agenda is the approval of the April 23rd, 2026 Operation and Safety Committee meeting minutes. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes? Okay. Any discussions or corrections? If not, please vote. Okay, and the minutes have passed. Next on our agenda, we have a resolution authorizing a modification and contractual authorization for emergency on-call repairs and maintenance services for MARTA's light rail overhead contact system and traction power substations, IFBB 45064. And Mr. Daniel Heck, our Deputy Chief Mechanical Officer, will present.
Good morning, Vice Chair Bolton Harris, Deputy General Manager Allen, and members of the board. I'm Daniel Heck, the Deputy Chief Mechanical Officer, and this is a resolution authorizing ratification of additional funds for the streetcar overhead catenary services on contract B45064 with C3M Power Systems, LLC. Quickly, contract B45064 supports the Atlanta streetcar overhead electrical catenary system. That's the wire that provides the 750 volt DC power to the streetcar shown in the picture here. Services under this contract include catenary adjustments, routine inspections, and repair of the mechanical and electrical infrastructure for the catenary system, and provided emergency repair and unscheduled maintenance if there was a defect or issue with the catenary system. So why ratification on this contract is required? There were emergency repairs after a fire that needed immediate attention earlier this year with one of the poles. There was a grounding issue, resulted in a minor fire, no major damage. We also had some reconstruction projects earlier performed under prior management that resulted in expenditures on this contract that were over the initial spend plan on the contract. And what this did is it reduced the contract funds during the final months of this contract. I think this contract was going through June of this year, but it was overspent earlier this calendar year. The original contract authorization was $4,082,802. The ratification amount requested is an additional $168,221.59 to clear out those invoices for a new authorization of $4,251,023.59. And of note, the contract with C3M, once we recognized that the contract spend was exceeded, we immediately closed that contract. So what are we doing for process improvements? We are bringing the inspection and repair of the catenary system in-house with our electric power and equipment. They do all of our heavy maintenance, inspections, repair on the 750 volt third rail system for the heavy rail system. So this is right in their wheelhouse of expertise with a little bit of training on the nuances of the catenary system. Our electric power and equipment technicians are experts in this field, and they're going to bring that in-house. All future contracts include appropriate contingency funding for emergency repairs that are similar to this. We've implemented a formal pay application process for all invoices. Additionally, within the Department of Operations, we now have a formal control process for all payments, invoices, and contractual authorizations, and that is a clearinghouse with our Operations Control Group. And we have multi-level railcar maintenance management approvals that improve transparency and real-time tracking of the available funds on each one of our many contracts that we have in mechanical operations. The Department of Mechanical Operations seeks approval of a resolution authorizing ratification of additional funding for Contract B 45064 with C3 and Power Systems, LLC for the Atlanta Streetcar Overhead Catenary Maintenance and Emergency Repair Services for $168,221.59 for a total contractual authorization of $4,251,023.59. Thank you, and I'll take any questions you have.
Okay, thank you. It's been, we have a motion. Can I get a second? All right, it's properly moved and seconded. Is there any questions or discussions? Seeing none, call for a vote. Okay, it's been passed. Thank you, and we're going to move to our next resolution authorizing a modification and contractual authorization for preventative maintenance and repair services for bus fire suppression and CNG tank inspection, IFB B50078. Mr. Heck.
Huh, that's interesting. All right. Well, I'll just move on. You've already introduced it. Today I'll be discussing the gas detection system on the buses, the fire suppression system on the buses, compressed natural gas tank certification required, preventative maintenance and repair, and the procurement consideration. And now it is really acting up. Can someone else run the slides from the back? Well, while they're pulling that up, what I can do is I'll briefly discuss. I think you all have in your packet the slides themselves. So our buses have gas detection. The majority of our bus fleet runs on compressed natural gas fuel. And with natural gas, obviously, you want to have gas detection. So there's 4 zones. There's one on the roof where the tanks are located, 1 within the cabin, and 2 within the engine. This contract includes the preventative maintenance and inspection of those gas detection sensors. Additionally, our buses have fire detection on board as well. We have multiple sensors in and around the engine compartment. These include thermal heat sensors and optical flame sensors. The optical flame sensors actually are like little cameras. They look, and if it senses a flame, even if the thermal sensors haven't gone off, it will trip the fire suppression. Additionally, our buses have a fire suppression system on board. This is like a built-in fire extinguisher. So we have a dry agent and a discharge nozzles within the engine bay. Oh yeah, there's the gas detection. We'll go to the next slide. There's the fire detection with the thermal heat sensors and flame sensors. And next slide. And here's a photo of the engine agent discharge nozzle, so that if there is a fire either detected by those sensors I discussed earlier, or if the operator hits the big red button on the control panel, that will discharge and put agent all throughout the engine to mitigate any thermal events that we have. Next slide. Again, our buses have compressed natural gas. Those tanks are on the roof of the vehicle. Here's a photo showing the clamshells open on the roof with the compressed natural gas tanks. These tanks must be certified every 3 years, and our fire extinguishers every 2 years. And then the complete system requires a 6-month certification. So this contract includes the certification that's required for these vehicles and this equipment. Next slide. This is a modification request on an existing contract with Centos. The original 5-year agreement was $2,559,703.68. We are asking for a 6-month extension and an additional $650,000 for a total contract value of $3,209,703.68. Of note, we put the contract out to bid twice. We received bids back twice, and we were in negotiations with both firms. And due to some terms and conditions discussions that we've had, as that continues, we decided to extend this contract. That's why we are asking for the 6-month extension and the additional funds. Lastly, the Department of Mechanical Operations requests the Operations and Safety Committee recommend to the full board the modification and contractual authorization for preventative maintenance and repair services for bus fire suppression and CNG tank inspection, IFBB 50078, with Centos Corporation, in the amount of $3,209,703.68. Thank you, and I'll take any questions you have.
All right, this resolution has been moved and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Okay. Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. Okay, resolution is passed. Thank you, Mr. Heck. And next, we have a briefing of bus and mobility key performance indicators, which is our quarterly report by Mr. Paul Lopes.
Thank you, Chair Bolton Harris, Deputy GM Allen, members of the board. My name's Paul Lopes. I'm the Operations and Urban Planning Chief. We're going to go through the quarterly update. Let's see if this works. Okay, we're good. So we're taking a look at bus and mobility key performance indicators for this quarter. It's not working again. It's kind of hard to do like the KPIs if I don't have the slides.
I mean, oh, okay,
So-
you can't see them. Okay.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Hard copy is coming your way.
I don't know if this helps.
Oh, that's them. Thank you. I don't know if you all want to track along, because if you've got hard copies or oh, there it is. Okay, we're back. All right,
We
so
have it.
our first KPI is bus collisions per million miles. As a reminder, these are the number of National Transportation Database reportable bus collisions per 1 million vehicle revenue miles operated. An NTD reportable collision is one that has any injury requiring transport away from a scene, a fatality, an evacuation for life safety reasons, and property damage of $25,000 or more, or towing of the transit or non-transit vehicle. We have a target of 5.94 bus collisions per 1 million revenue miles. The lower we go, the better we are. We are trending below our target, which is favorable, and you can see the trend keeps dipping. There is a seasonal track that we have with the better weather. We do see this downturn. And as mentioned in earlier updates, we do continue to follow up on the preventable accidents to determine whether or not we can provide any follow-up or refresher training for operators in order to keep this number as low as possible. Next, we have the customer rating for feeling safe from accidents and hazards on buses and at bus stops. This tracks the average customer rating for operators driving buses safely, an environment free of hazards on the buses, and an environment free of hazard at bus stops. 0 being poor, 10 being excellent. We update this quarterly. We set a target of 8. The higher we get, the better off we are. There has been a slight dip, a statistically significant dip year over year, with the latest reporting at 7.19. We are going to bring an item to the board for review. We are looking at implementing and standing up a bus shelter cleaning program. So we will bring that update, and we'll give you details on that program to hopefully improve this score in future. Next up is our KPI for, okay, these are out of, we'll have to go back. We'll have to go back to the slides, unless I want to cycle through them.
Paul, I think if you have a paper copy, you can just continue to speak from your paper copy, and
Yep.
we can see what you have here, and just make it plain for those who are viewing online.
So right after the customer rating for feeling safe from accidents and hazards on buses and at bus stops, which was the last one we had covered, the next one up is customer rating for feeling safe from crime on buses and at bus stops. Here, the average customer rating is just tracking that while waiting or riding a bus, waiting for a bus at a bus stop or riding a bus. We've set a target of 8. We are currently at 6.68. There hasn't been significant variation year over year in this measure. We are working with MPD. We do continue to report any instances where bus shelters aren't being used as intended, and there are issues at bus shelters that MPD then help follow up with and help follow up with. Next up is our KPI for clean. This is customer rating for bus service cleanliness. The average customer rating for cleanliness on buses and at bus stops sits at 5.94. We have a target of 8. The higher we get, the better off we should be. We are changing allocation of a couple of internal programs. So we are moving more resources to cleaning trains and to cleaning buses while in service. The idea being that we will be able to do end terminal cleaning for trains and at 5 points for trains and at depots for buses to hopefully improve this score as we move forward. Next up are our measures for reliability. First is bus on-time performance. This is the percentage of on-time departures from a defined time point on a given route. So we have time points sometimes at terminals, sometimes in the middle of the route, depending on how it's been set up. A departure is considered on time if the bus leaves the time point between 30 seconds before and 5.5 minutes after the scheduled departure time. We have a target here of 78.5%. The higher we get, the better we perform. We are currently at 78.57%. We are performing better than we did last year. We continue to perform ahead of where we were. We are, as a result of next-gen bus changes, actively looking at a small number of routes to determine whether or not we can improve, to determine what the root cause is of our timing issues, and then based on that, what changes we can make to improve timing performance, which should be seen here as we progress. Mobility on-time performance is our next key KPI. It is a percentage of MARTA mobility customer pickups made within 30 minutes of scheduled pickup time. We have a target of 90%. We barely met target. We're 89.96%. We were trending higher than this, and I think if everybody will recall, we had a few issues that I made mention of last time I was up. Technology changes that are necessary in order to improve the system and introduce new services. Those caused minor issues, in some cases for specific customers, major issues across the service we were delivering, which is what you're seeing here. Slight dip in our performance from high 90s to low 90s, borderline high 80s. Next KPI is bus missed trip rate. This is the percentage of scheduled bus trips that were not delivered. Our target is 0.5%. The lower we get, the better we are. We are currently at 4.41%. We are still a little higher than we were trending last year. We have a lot of work to do in this area, and Daniel will be coming up with a report to the board in the next little while about what we're doing on changes for bus reliability, bus pull-ins, and how that impacts our service build-up in the morning. And we're also working on a number of issues we'll cover when we do that presentation. The next slide is our deep dive, similar to what we did for rail. We're just taking it one step further. This is the third quarter bus missed trips by cause. And so when we go a little further, we take a look at we take a look at the 28,700 or 4.4% of the 649,000 scheduled bus trips not delivered in the quarter. The first and largest cohort at 59% is maintenance issues. And again, Daniel will be coming to have that discussion to the board in the near future about how we're trying to, how we will be improving and putting in it changes to try and improve bus reliability and bus performance. The next up is no operator available at 33%. As a result of changes to next gen network, we have increased our spare board. We continue to hire. We're going to increase our extra board and spare board to make sure that we have operators available to operate the buses. For people tracking the missed trips that we've been having historically, on a typical morning prior to next gen, we were looking at 79, 80 missed trips, 60 missed trips. A few days ago, we had 9 missed trips or cancellations, and we're running in the mid-20s. So we hope to get that to 0 consistently, or as close to 0 as possible. So we're going to keep hiring additional operators to our budgeted allocated number in order to make sure that the no operator available is taken down as well. Other issues and operator behavior. Other issues are accidents, incidents, things beyond our control. And operator behavior is just a catch-all. It's not really anything attributed specifically to an operator. It could be something they've noted, something that's come on with the bus, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a very small percentage at 3%. But the two largest components, which are maintenance and operator availability, we are actively tackling. Next up is the mobility missed trip rate. Again, this saw an increase above where we were. We were at 0.32. It's tied to the same issue that I had mentioned just a minute ago, the technology change. We said this was coming. I don't know if it'll be any worse, but it did trend up because of what we were seeing with tablets and all of the other equipment we need. And last KPI is customer rating for bus service reliability. This is the average customer rating for on-time performance, including service levels and transfers. We are currently sitting at 6.81. Target is 8. The higher we get, the better we are. And as I mentioned, reliability will be impacted by the maintenance changes we're making, as well as the operator availability and the additional workforce we're going to be picking up. And that's it for me, unless anybody's got any further questions.
Thank you for the presentation. I apologize about the tech issues. If you could just do one thing, Mr. Lopes, slide number 3, mobility collisions per 100,000 miles. If you could, I think with some of the confusion, that slide got missed, and just for those people who are listening online, if we can just briefly review it, and then if anybody else has any questions after that, I think we'll be good.
You are correct. We did miss it. So mobility collisions per 100,000 miles are tracking a collision or an accident in which there's an impact of a transit vehicle with another vehicle or object, such as but not limited to another transit vehicle, a private vehicle, a person, an animal, or an object. Our target is 2.50. We're currently sitting at 3.45. The lower we get, the better we are. We are trending where we were last year at the same point, slightly better overall. And we do continue, as well as we do for the fixed route operators, reviewing preventable accidents with operators as they occur and provide follow-up training, refreshers, research as needed. And that's the last KPI that we didn't cover. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, comments for Mr. Lopes? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And in other matters, we do have the FY26 March key KPIs that is informational purposes only. If there are no other issues to be brought to this committee, this meeting is adjourned.
Okay, it's been moved in second. All right, can I get a vote? Okay, the minutes have passed. The next item on the agenda is the briefing, community engagement update for 2026, the legislative wrap up with Michelle Arrington, Assistant General Manager, External Affairs. Ms. Arrington, you have the floor.
Thank you for saving the best for last. So many
All
people
right,
left.
that's right.
It's going to be a riveting presentation. Everybody left, so they're going to miss it. Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, and thank you, Board Member Frierson, Ms. Allen, Mr. Parker, all members of the board and members of the External Relations Committee. I am Michelle Arrington, Assistant General Manager of External Affairs, and I am here on behalf of our Government Community Affairs team to provide you with an update on recent events and activities from the team, including a legislative recap. Since the last update, the Government and Community Affairs team has continued robust outreach throughout March and April, maintaining a strong and consistent presence in the community and partnering with our jurisdictional partners, elected officials, and key stakeholder groups. In March, our team helped to lead MARTA's open house, which was a successful event right here at headquarters. And we're continuing to engage people where they are, partnering with the elected officials at town halls, attending community meetings, and visiting senior centers to ensure they have a clear understanding of all of the new projects, the benefits, and accessibility to the system. In the city of Atlanta, we partner with Grady Hospital, you'll see, for their annual wellness event, Move for Grady, where we help to table an event and provide participants with information about all of MARTA's projects and initiatives. This, of course, was held on the same route as the Rapid A line, so it made for a very informative and engaging event. On April 29th, our team, including myself, you'll see the upper right-hand corner, attended Atlanta City Council Marcy Overstreet's first ever town hall as president of the council. We were able to share information about Rapid A line, World Cup readiness, Next Gen, Better Breeze, and our projects and initiatives. The team also tabled an event and provided riders with info about mobility, new bus routes, and more. In Clayton County, we've been very busy. The team has been invested in expanding our presence throughout the county, connecting directly to residents, and sharing project information. On April 18th, ICO Hunt participated in a business luncheon with the Clayton Chamber and a fireside chat with board member Valencia Williamson. And we want to thank her for that opportunity to engage with the business community as members of that chamber. We're also working with Chairwoman Aleka Anderson Henry to coordinate a Clayton County open house in the community, and we'll be coordinating with the chamber on some workforce development and job fair opportunities throughout the county. In DeKalb County, our bus stops and planning team attended a walkthrough around Beaufort Highway with Commissioner Michelle Long Spears and Propel ATL, where we were able to discuss best traffic, mobility, and rider concerns alongside our partners at GDOT. We also continue to engage the senior community throughout DeKalb County and hosted 3 events with the senior community, most recently at the Lou Walker Purpose Center on April 30th. In Fulton County, we continue our targeted outreach. We included the East Point City Council meeting to present on MARTA projects and updates. We also presented to employees via a webinar, which was an excellent opportunity to engage employees who live and work in Fulton County and utilize MARTA. And on Friday, April 24th, we held a MARTA and Atlanta Regional Commission 101, where we shared best practices, discussed how our departments work together, and how we can enhance those partnerships. We held that at East Point City Hall, and in the lower right-hand corner, you'll see a picture of us with the mayor, Keisha Chapman, who joined us, and we got a tour of our new trains, and everyone really enjoyed that event. Lastly, we continue throughout the jurisdiction to ensure MARTA is engaged system-wide in all hearings. We hosted budget hearings in both Clayton and Fulton County. We hosted a job fair in partnership with our HR department, with the Latin American Association, and we continue to distribute information throughout local library systems to ensure that our residents who maybe do not engage through the technology can still receive the information. We also, and you all have been copied on this, continue to send out our monthly partner toolkits. They continue to be a great resource with positive information, and I've asked the team to start adding specific events in each jurisdiction to highlight where we are, and so the elected officials and community leaders can see those. Going into May, this month, we've been extremely busy. We had high demand for community engagement, and we already, as you can see, have executed a number of events in the city of Atlanta. We participated in an annual bike and health event and engaged with our seniors at a local farmers market in partnership with Atlanta Housing. And in Clayton, on the bottom right-hand corner, you can see that our team partnered with GDOT and the county leadership to host a Clayton bus tour, highlighting MARTA's projects in Clayton, including South Lake BRT, the Operations and Maintenance Facility, and the Justice Center Transportation Hub. GDOT in Clayton County asked us to attend. We spent meaningful time with a lot of leaders. The chairwoman is up front, one of the commissioners in the back, and a number of local mayors and city council members as well. That went so well, GDOT has already approached us about doing something similar in all of our other jurisdictions. So we're looking forward to that. The second photo you see up top is from the Clayton County Mayfest, where over 1,000 seniors attended a health and wellness event. I heard they broke some kind of record, I think the most in an open air space. I don't have the right information, but it was very exciting, and our community engagement team was on the ground for that. In DeKalb County, we continue to stay engaged. We were just in the city of Tucker participating in Economic Development Summit, where Ryan Van Sickle talked about the Next Gen Bus Network, and Carla Wiley attended this event at tabling as well. And we were invited by Mayor Ann Lerner and the Economic Development Director for the city of Tucker. We also attended the state of DeKalb, where MARTA was a sponsor for the Council of Quality Growth event. It's always exciting. And then on May 18th, we held a very exciting event with Indian Creek ribbon cutting. I know a couple of you attended, highlighting the new pedestrian bridge, and Commissioner Moreta Johnson Davis brought greetings. And then lastly, in Fulton County, we participated in a Fulton County Tech Summit and spoke with residents at the Helene Mill Center about the Next Gen Bus Network. So we are continuing to be involved throughout the system, as you can see. A brief legislative update. This session, we worked to advance the penny sales tax initiative, and I am pleased to share that the penny tax extension passed. That's House Bill 297. As you all know, this was critical legislation which extended MARTA's penny tax for another 10 years to 2067. It was set to expire in 2057. This extension allows us to stay within a 30-year window, which of course affects MARTA's overall sales tax and funding. So the timing was crucial that we got this passed. And so I want to thank our previous Senior Director of Government and Community Affairs, Jennifer LaRosa, for her leadership down at the Capitol, and Carolina Ramos as well, as they work closely with our consultants and state legislators to ensure this success. The next step is to begin to work on a draft of a streamlined implementation for the 16th Amendment. We'll begin that process, and we'll coordinate with each jurisdiction to ensure projects and related details are thoroughly discussed, and we will continue, of course, to keep the board informed. We also pursued legislation for camera enforcement for bus rapid transit within the city. That was not successful. However, State Legislative Council has advised us that it is permissible on local streets. Camera enforcement is permissible. Good news for the Rapid A-Line project. We know that's going to take time and education, of course, to ensure that those lanes are free and clear. But we are seeking an official opinion from the state, doing our own internal research. And then we'll be exploring other options, because we know we want to keep the R in rapid effective, especially as we look toward the Campbellton Road and South Lake BRT projects too. And then lastly, in early April, myself, Chief of Staff Parker, Interim CEO Hunt, along with board members Chair Ide, Vice Chair Pun, Board Member Frierson, and Board Member Jones, we went to Washington, D.C., as you can see the upper left-hand corner. We attended the American Public Transportation Association, APTA, a lot of words, legislative conference, where we engaged with peer agencies to learn best practices, and we met with a number of our lawmakers. As you see the upper right-hand corner, we're there with Senator Warnock. We met with Congressman Hank Johnson, the staff of Congresswoman Lucy McBath and Akima Williams, the staff of Congressman Rick McCormick, and members of the Senate Banking Committee and the Federal Transit Administration. We were able to advocate on behalf of MARTA and discuss the importance of funding for transit on a federal level, discuss federal guidelines, grant opportunities, and the need for advocacy to advance key projects. While there, Interim CEO Hunt also participated on 2 panels. One focused on elevating the customer service experience, which discussed ridership, employees, and system safety, and then another on World Cup readiness, where Mr. Hunt discussed MARTA's prior experience for preparing large events, operational planning and coordinating, regional partnerships, staffing needs, and more, and perspectives essentially on how federal policy can help support large events like FIFA. And so we have been extremely busy. I wanted just to highlight the Government Community Affairs team. It's a small but mighty team. They are doing a lot of work. And thank you, and I'll take any questions you may have.
All right, Al? Mr. Pond?
Michelle, excuse me, going back to the camera enforcement Summerhill project, seems to me the city of Atlanta has the most skin in that game. Could they not create legislation, the city council of Atlanta, to solve that problem?
Yes, and so we're in talks with them, kind of, but we are going to be working with them on something because, of course, it can be enforced by the City of Atlanta Police or MARTA MPD. It's the load and to carry that, so camera enforcement probably would make more sense, so you don't have an individual person operating and looking at it, but we're working with the City of Atlanta definitely to streamline that.
All right, any other questions from the board members? All right, thank you, Mrs. Arrington. Appreciate it very much. Great
Thank
briefing.
you.
The next on the agenda is briefing, Next Gen, Reach Media, Next Generation Reach Media Impressions. Stephanie Fisher, Senior Director of Communications. You have the floor, Mrs. Fisher.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, Mr. Frierson, Ms. Allen, Mr. Parker, and members of the External Relations Committee. I'm Stephanie Fisher. I'm the Senior Director of Communications, and I'm here today to provide an overview of our media impressions for the successful launches of MARTA Reach, Next Gen Bus Network, and the Rapid A Line. Next slide, please. Our new on-demand transit service, MARTA Reach, launched on March 6th. And as you know, this service complements the Next Gen Bus Network by providing rideshare service in 12 zones that are underserved by transit. It was launched 6 weeks before the new bus network to give our customers an opportunity to get familiar with the service before the changes were made to their fixed bus route. We had laid the communications groundwork for Reach during the successful pilot program back in 2022, which we were then able to build on this year, highlighting ease of use, affordability, and connectivity to the larger MARTA system. During March and April, MARTA Reach was mentioned in news stories 200 times, with all of it, 100%, registering as positive or neutral in tone. We saw a spike in news coverage on March 2nd and March 7th, before and after the launch. Saw another spike again during the launch of the Next Gen Bus Network on April 18th. And all of this coverage had an advertising value equivalent of $7 million. Next slide, please. The Next Gen Bus Network launched on April 18th, and our communications efforts before and after resulted in 253 mentions over 2 months. We saw news coverage about the new network spike in early March during our push about MARTA Reach that I just mentioned. We saw it spike again mid-March as we did a media push about a month out from the actual launch, and then the weekend of the launch, April 17th through the 19th. These spikes in news coverage resulted in an advertising value equivalent of $13.5 million. One important takeaway is that despite the significant change to the many bus routes and the decrease in fixed route bus service in some areas, almost all of the news coverage about it in March and April, 99.6%, registered as positive or neutral in tone. Next slide, please. The state's first bus rapid transit line, the Rapid A Line, launched the same weekend as the Next Gen Bus Network, providing service through downtown Atlanta in bus-only lanes with transit signal priority at busy intersections. In March and April, before, during, and after the launch of the A Line, Phase 1 of the service, the Rapid A Line was mentioned 72 times in news stories, with 100% of that coverage being positive or neutral in tone. Our educational efforts about this new mode of transit, including important info for our customers on how to ride it and for drivers on how to share the road, resulted in $3 million worth of advertising value. Next slide. The communication around these generational system improvements will certainly continue as Phase 2 of the Rapid A Line launches later this year. The Next Gen Bus Network is evaluated and any adjustments implemented, and as ridership for MARTA Reach grows. Thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer your questions.
All right, any questions from the board members? Seeing none, thank you, Mrs. Fisher.
Thank you.
I do just
one?
briefly.
One
I'm sorry,
missing.
briefly. I know this is for thank you for the presentation, and I've been, like I said, I see social media and all the different content that comes through. As this is March and April, I do know there's some negative stuff that's come out in May as far as talking about the Next Gen bus system. Do we anticipate, I guess my question is, as far as the impressions, do we continue, are those negative comments outweighing positive feedback that we're receiving regarding the implementation?
As far as customer feedback,
Right.
that comes through our customer service line, and those are being addressed individually. News stories, I suspect that because there have been a couple of stories in the month of May about people that are not happy with their the loss of service, that we will see maybe more coverage of that. But it's been isolated at this point to one particular area, and again, we're addressing that individually with that particular group. But I guess, yeah, we may see a dip in those numbers a bit in May.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right, any other questions from the board? All right, once again, thank you, Mrs. Fisher.
Thank you.
Appreciate it very much. Hearing no other questions, then and no other matters, I call this meeting to adjourn. All right, thank you, everybody.